Let's go.
Morning all. How are we doing? Let me just press a couple of buttons while I'm here. Say good morning to Glenn and to Footy. I think I've already done those for Andy, Ken and Dan. I think they are all done. Good morning, gents. I'll better do the Gary Muirhead button as well. Gary Muirhead, star of YouTube. I'll tell you more about that at some point in the not too distant future. But good morning, everyone. How the devil are we all doing? Yes, good morning to Instagram as well, who are coming through loud and clear, which is fantastic enough stuff. And now, very quick one. It is another prize giveaway day today. There. Let me see if I can angle that correctly so that you can see it. It is what appears to be a model of a PC 360 from Komatsu. It is, in fact, a thinly disguised USB thumb drive in the shape of a Komatsu PC 360 excavator. If you weren't here yesterday, I'll do you a very quick demonstration. Unlike the real excavator, this one has a bit you can pull out the end. You know. Now, I did think long and hard about the question for today. And then I stopped. I came up with nothing. So basically, all I need you to do, and I do have a banner to tell you what to do, actually, but I will describe it to you in the fullness of time, just as soon as I've triggered the banner. All I need you to do in order to be in with a chance of winning that fine specimen from Komatsu is type USB. U for umbrella, S for sugar, B for something beginning with B in the chat. I will remind you, obviously, Instagram, our software doesn't allow you to take part in this. I'm very, very sorry about that. I wish you were able to, but that's not the case. So, yes, type USB into the chat and you will be in with a shout of winning that fine thing from Komatsu, as I say, not from Instagram. We will draw the winner at the end of the show, and hopefully Ken Hatcher may let somebody else get a look in this time. Now, I also like you guys to be the first to know about the stuff that we're working on in the background. Well, I've been thinking for quite some time about starting a standalone Friday afternoon or Saturday morning show to round up the week's big industry news. And on Friday this week, we will be releasing the first ever episode of that show. It's called The Wrap, and it is hosted entirely by our AI news anchor. Now, this is not, I repeat, not designed to be a live show. There will be no physical interaction as such, but it is something you can watch on your way home from work or when you get home on a Friday, or you can recap on a Saturday. Obviously, this is going to be very much a suck it and see process. I've no idea whether there is actually an appetite out there for a weekly news show, particularly one hosted entirely by an AI presenter, but you never know until you try. That's the way I'm looking at it. So my plan is to drop that show on Friday afternoon of this week, probably around about 3 p.m. So wherever you're watching this show, you'll be able to watch that new show. As I say, it is going to be pre-recorded. In actual fact, probably 3/4 of it is in the can already. So yes, come. Let me think. Come Friday afternoon, you'll be able to tune in to see that. And just so you know, the fourth and penultimate, for now at least, installment of my time-traveling Demolition Man series dropped first thing this morning. You can read today's episode, should you so desire, when I can find the right button. I'm sure it's here somewhere. That should do it. Yes, you can read that one today. Now, I do need to say a very quick good morning to a few people. Jim Turner has joined us. Morning, Jim. A couple of entries for for the competition. My wife apparently is doing her own question of the day today. Good morning, amigos. Dig deep, cast wide, says Chris Ford. Sound words indeed. And as I say, my wife is actually saying, question of the day should be, are you having haggis today, Burns night? It should. It isn't. I do have a question of the day for today, and I'm going to get to it in just a second. So, just going back on the time-traveling Demolition Man, the book is finished. So come Monday, I will be sending that out to our WhatsApp group. So stand by for that. Now, without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, which isn't about haggis, and get this show on the road. Just going to address one very quick one from our friend. That's not the one, that's on. Gary Muirhead says, I just noticed last night that demolitionnews.com is getting closer to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. The play button will be in the post soon. I'd like to think so, but I don't know, because our channel basically is currently demonetized. Because we actually play videos that have been provided to us by other people, particularly equipment manufacturers, they automatically get a copyright strike. So 100,000, I should automatically get a play button to go with the one that my son Fred has got, which I think you may be able to see. Where is it? There-ish. That's the play button there. Would be nice to have two of them, but I don't actually know if that's going to be the case. And Gary again. Ruth Anthony, question of the day. Yes, I'm having beef and haggis. Beef and haggis Wellington. Oh my God, that sounds fantastic. And I'm not even a big beef fan, but that does sound fantastic. Anybody else joining the haggis club tonight? I most certainly am. Now, it is Thursday, the 25th of January. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, CDI trashes a Florida hotel in true rock and roll style. All quiet on the Bobcat front, remote monitoring in a mega mine, and we have some truly bellissimo Italian demolition for you to savor. And it has an absolute banger of a soundtrack as well. So stand by for that. Make sure you've got your speakers turned up nice and loud when that one rolls around. Plus, we're going to be breaking in Qatar. But first, we're going to peer back through the mists of time to see what was happening on this day in history. On this day in 1802, Napoleon was elected president of Italy. Italy! Who knew? In 1958, Felix Mendelssohn's Wedding March was played at a wedding for the first time, as the then Princess Victoria married the then Crown Prince of Prussia. In 1924, the first ever Winter Olympics opened its doors in France. In 1961, JFK broadcast the first live presidential address. Bet it didn't look as good as this show. In 1971, Charles Manson and 3 of his disciples were jailed for murder. In 1998, Spice Girl Victoria Adams and footballer David Beckham got engaged. Whatever happened to those two, I wonder? And in 1999, the movie The Blair Witch Project premiered at the Sundance Film Festival and scared the bejabbers out of just about everybody that saw it. Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, let me very quickly remind you of our question of the day. And it is this. Yes, nice easy one today. Our question of today is this. Who would you least like to be trapped in an elevator with? Who would you least like to be trapped in an elevator with? They can be living or dead, famous or otherwise. Personally, Piers Morgan would be top of my list of celebrities. Regular folks, anyone from the Worthing Advertiser, my stalker, certain people from the UK demolition industry. Not necessarily in that order, but what about you? Who would make an elevator trip simply unbearable for you? Let us know in the chat. We'll come back to that at the end of the show. Speaking of show, let us begin. Led Zeppelin, The Who, The Rolling Stones, Guns N' Roses, all huge bands with one thing in common. They are each infamous for having trashed hotel rooms whilst on tour. However, by comparison to the team at CDI, those bands are mere amateurs. Because while the likes of Keith Richards, John Bonham, Keith Moon and Slash wrecked individual rooms, CDI can take down an entire hotel. Yeah, 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, lots of people picking up on that. Let's have a look. Dan Cullen, morning. Dan says, imagine living up the road, not knowing that what happened. I'd be thinking the war had started. Yeah, so would I. Yeah, imagine just that going off in the middle of the night. But everybody is in agreement. Top work by CDI, says Ken Hatcher, says Andy Darvell as well. Looks like a great job, says Dan. Ken Hatcher says exactly the same thing. And Ken, who has been a bit of a regular in Florida, says, I think I drove past that hotel. You may well have done. Gary, I can see what you're trying to do, but that's not actually what you're supposed to be doing. In order to win that, you need to be putting. Let me turn it up the right way, shall I? Yes, in order for you to win that, you need to be typing USB into the chat. And I've just realised I put that back. Never mind. I'll sort that out. But yes, you need to type USB into the chat. We're up to 8 entries, which means you've got a 1 in 8 chance of winning. And one of those that have entered is Stephen Whitehead, watching over on, I think he's watching on LinkedIn. Good morning, Stephen. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and thank you very much indeed for taking part. Good luck when the draw rolls around, which will not be that too long now. Let me just get back to the right screen. I need to press a button, and I think I'm going to choose randomly this one.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Just a very quick one, which I was supposed to say before I press that button. If you like that demolition, make sure you stick around, because we've got a demolition film from Italy that may just blow your socks off. Not explosive, but it may just blow your socks off. Now, whenever we talk about electric machines, we tend to get fixated on certain key things: emissions, charging times, battery life, battery disposal. But there's another discussion point to be had on electric machines, and that is just how whisper quiet they are.
I don't think the noise level is a big issue, because I'm comfortable in that diesel-powered machine.
If you go back to like a T650, that would rattle your brains out of your head. Now these 66 and them, they got that comfort red. It's nice.
Yeah, they've come a long way to kind of make it to where you can't really hear it.
I can just hear everything going on.
It's quiet. It's quiet.
I'm really liking how you can hear everything as far as what's happening with the machine, the speed, every little movement.
Oh, you can hear basically everything. You can tell which part's moving, and yeah, listening to the diesel motor, you can't even hear your own thoughts. This is insane.
I really did like the fact that you could hear the lift cylinder, the tilt cylinder. I thought that was really beneficial.
I was impressed. Completely impressed with it.
Yeah, now in the right application, that almost silent running is a big advantage. As big an advantage, perhaps, as a lack of emissions. But it does take some getting used to. We took a few of the electric machines for a spin at the Bobcat facility late last year. And the lack of sound is a little bit disconcerting, at least to begin with. But then there's a bigger thing. There is the issue of workers not hearing silent machines coming and the potential safety hazards that throws up. What are your thoughts, people? Would you be happy to be driving a virtually silent machine? Love to get your thoughts. While you're about it, please don't forget, I think we've probably made double figures now, have we? Yes, we have. We've made double figures on today's competition to win a USB thumb drive that is in the shape of, let me do it that way around, in the shape of a Komatsu PC360 excavator. That is up for grabs. All you need to do is type the letters USB, no spaces, USB into the chat, and I can see lots and lots of people have done that. In actual fact, we've just had a couple more come through. Yep, we're up to yes, we're up to 11 now. So please keep those coming in. And also, let's have your thoughts on silent running. Be lovely to get your feedback on that. Now, we need just a smidgen of this, because after this, we have that bellissimo Italian demolition for you. The action in our next film is more than enough to keep you entertained for the next 3 minutes or so. However, we have spiced things up a bit with a soundtrack that I think you're going to enjoy. So, do yourselves a favour. Crank up the volume, sit back, and enjoy some Italian high-reach demolition. Pin your ears back, people.
Let's go.
Told you it was good, didn't I? Going to go over to the chat. Gary Muirhead, who is basically my secretary these days, have you had any more updates on the SK1300 that's working down under? I did reach out to the fine folks at Cabelco Australia. I've not heard back. You've just reminded me. I'm sure I've got a notification on my phone that will tell me that they haven't responded, but it's probably for next week. But I will reach out to them again. Let's have a look. That's a close old job to the houses over the road. Steady, Mr. High Reach Driver. Yeah. Was a bit tight, but yeah, what a fantastic job. Let me go back to here. Gary says the Italians really know how to do demolition. Their pasta's not bad too, either. You're dead right, it's not. Can't wait to get back to Bergamo come May the 10th, I think it is. May the 10th. Andy Darvell spotted it was a VTN attachment, and it is a beast. Yeah, absolutely huge fan of the VTN brand, and looking forward to catching up with them in the not too distant future. I'm fairly sure they're at Intermat, so another reason to go. Jim Turner says, tune. Jim, it was chosen specifically for you. Dan Cullen says, fan Dabby Dozy, love it, music and video. I watched the video. It did have a soundtrack on it, but I thought it deserved something else. So, yes, that's why I added that. Smashing tune for Smashing Building Down. See, we don't just throw this stuff together. And Chris Ford, reminding us of our competition of the day. If you want to be in with a chance of winning this USB thumb drive in the shape of a Komatsu excavator, you need to type the letters USB into the chat, which Chris Ford has suggested stands for utter stupid bugger. The funny thing is, it doesn't, I'm guessing, but I don't actually know what USB stands for. I use them all the time. Not a clue what USB stands for. If anybody would like to enlighten me, I'd love to hear from you. Now, let's have just a smidgen of one of these, I think.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
We have talked about remote machine monitoring in the past here on the show, and it is a very divisive subject. Some see it as a way of keeping tabs on a machine's performance, its status, and to identify potential faults before they lead to expensive downtime. Others, however, see it as yet another example of Big Brother watching us all. But regardless of your standpoint, there are some applications in which remote machine monitoring just kind of makes sense. Pretty smart, right? Pretty smart. Now, thank you very much indeed for Graham Footy Williams, who has just told me USB, which is the thing you need to type into the chat, stands for Uniform Series Bus. That's what it stands for. Who knew? Well, apparently Footy did, but thank you very much indeed for that, Footy. I really appreciate that. We are now down to 11 entries for our competition for today. So you have not long now, excuse me, to type the letters USB, no spaces ideally, into the chat for your chance to win. Now, at about this time in the show normally, I press a button that plays an advert for our Breakfast Show stickers, but A, they've all gone, and B, there's another game in town. So here, for the first time, is our brand new replacement ad. What do you think? That's Fred's handiwork, obviously, because I'm sure you could spot. I'm going to say very quick good morning to Kerry Jones, who's just joined us and entered the competition. I think we've now got around a dozen entries, but Steve Williamson has just joined us as well. Steve, make sure you type the letters USB into the chat for your chance to win. That. It's not a model, it is a USB thumb drive. Ken Hatcher is saying that looks like a big show. It is a big show. I mean, it's not Bauma or Conexpo big, but it's pretty bloody big. Certainly takes some walking around, so make sure you do that. Steve Williamson has asked, what was the question of the day? The question of the day today is, who would you least like to be stuck in an elevator with? Rich or famous, living or dead? Take your pick. We've had some entries. My personally would be Piers Morgan. Well, I say it would be Piers Morgan, but being trapped in an elevator with the opportunity to punch him repeatedly about the head, yeah, maybe I'd like that. But yes, we now have 13. Unlucky for some, 13 entries. I'm not even going to display what Steve Williamson has just put up because I want to protect his marriage. But thank you very much indeed for your feedback on that, Steve. Now, yes, just as a very quick one on Intermat, if you check the chat, you will actually see I posted a link. That's the link to the show, and you can register there should you be on your way to Paris come April. Now, we broke a hotel in Florida, we broke a tower block in Italy, and we broke the news that there's a new construction news show coming down the line this Friday. So we may as well stick with the breaking theme. Only this time, we're going to be doing it in Qatar. Now, this is our final film of the day, and it is just 1 minute and 20 seconds long. So that is precisely the amount of time you have left to enter today's prize draw. Just type the letters USB, no spaces, into the chat. And we'll be right back after this to actually do the prize draw.
It's been a great relationship for the last 40 years. Great customer service from Montebert. The brand is the best of the best. It's considered the Rolls Royce of breakers. When people buy it, we want to make sure that it delivers. You know, with MBKB behind it, we make sure that, you know, we get the best of the best results and make sure the customers are happy. You know, we've been selling them for the last 40 years, but in the last 5 years, they've been used heavily in all the projects that related to getting the country ready for the World Cup. We represent the V Series and the XL Series. In the V Series, we sell V32, V45, and V65. On the XL line, we sell XL 1700 and XL 2600. It's been a great relationship. We've been together for the last 40 years, and that shows it.
Yeah, not sure we've actually had a film from Qatar before. We may have done because of the World Cup, but I don't actually remember it. Now, it is that time. You've probably got about 5 or 10 seconds, if you would like to enter our competition of the day. Well, I've just seen Mick Norton's answer to our question of the day today. I kind of see where you're coming from, but just seems a little bit random. So yes, this is what it looks like. If you would like to be entered into the prize draw, you have roughly 10 seconds. That's what it is up for grabs. I know you can't really see. I'll tell you what, let me do it that way. You can't really see it. It's a USB thumb drive in the shape of a Komatsu excavator. As I've already said, you just need to type the letters USB, no spaces, into the chat. And you've got roughly, well, I don't know, 5 seconds in which to do that. In that 5 seconds, I need to go over to our randomizer. We have 13 entries. Any more? No, looks like we're going with 13. So here we go. Here is the draw. The fix is in, apparently. The fix is in. I don't know how he keeps doing it, but Ken Hatcher has won again. I mean, on the plus side, I know his address off by heart now, but man alive, the guy's on a lucky streak. Don't know what's going on. I genuinely, I mean, it is completely at random, but as they've just said, Gary Muirhead says it's a fix. Andy Delvell says, fix. I'm beginning to wonder. I am beginning to wonder. And Steve Williamson, I've just seen your other answer to the question of the day. Oh, man alive, am I in agreement with you on that? And we will get to that in just a second. So, Ken Hatcher, I don't know if you're still here, but you've got one of those. Wish I'd known that yesterday because I've already sent you yesterday's prize. I could have just bagged them all up and done them at the same time. But congratulations, you won fair and square, so well done. That pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. If you can't stick around, then please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends and your colleagues. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I will be back with the Craic immediately after this final word from our key show sponsor. Jammy Ken Hatcher. Can't believe it. Jim Turner says, I think your randomizer is on the take. It's absolutely bizarre. And what I find most bizarre about it is it is a glitchy kind of system. The randomizer is actually provided by the same people that provide the platform on which I'm doing this. But the number of times it has overlooked entries or it has basically skipped entries entirely. And yet, Ken, he seems to put his name in and bosh, I say. He seems to win. But congratulations to Ken. He's over on my other screen. I'm going to take him off now because I'm as disappointed as everybody else. Right, let's go back to the very beginning of the chat. I do need to be done by 11 because I have duties to perform. I've got some writing to do this afternoon, and it's one that I've been planning for several weeks. Looking forward to getting stuck into that. So I'll keep you posted. And I will remind you very quickly, if you weren't here at the beginning of the show, and I know some of you weren't, in actual fact, while I'm doing that, let me switch glasses so that I can see the chat properly. Yes, come Friday afternoon, about 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, we're going to launch a brand new show. It's not a live show, it is a pre-recorded show, and it is hosted 100% entirely by our AI news anchor, Ms. Demolition. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to round up 4 or 5 stories, hot news stories from the past week from construction and demolition. I think we're about 3/4 done already, and Demi will present that basically as a new show on a Friday afternoon. So you'll be able to watch it on a Friday afternoon. You'll also be able to watch it on a catch-up on a Saturday morning. So you, in the space of 5 to 10 minutes, you should be able to catch up on all the news from the industry in next to no time in the company of the ever-gorgeous Ms. Demolition. So hope you're looking forward to that. I'd love to get your feedback on it as well. As I said in the intro, I've no idea whether there is actually an appetite out there for a show. Well, a roundup show for one thing, and a roundup show that's hosted by an AI. It may just fall flat on its face. The first episode might prove to be the last episode. I honestly don't know. Don't know how it's going to go down at all. But I'd love to get your feedback on it because you are the people that matter the most. Dan Cullen was first off the mark this morning. Good morning to you, Dan. Top of the morning to you, sir. Ken Hatcher, he's got the rain again, but don't worry. He has his new prize to keep him dry? Maybe not. Andy Dalvell is here as well. Morning, Andy. I'm glad you're here, my friend. Hope you enjoyed the high reach excavator, especially for you. Dedicated to Andy Dalvell, Glenn Johnston is here as well, as is Footy Williams. And Gary Muirhead says, good morning, Mark. Good morning, guys. Happy Burns Day, everyone. Oh, it's going to be a very happy a Burns Day for me. We've not only have we got a haggis, we've got a haggis as big as your head. Looking forward to putting a dent in that. Going to help on over to Instagram. Say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, actually, to Frank D'Angelo of Diacon Demo. Says, ciao, Mark. Take care. It's the start of the long weekend in Australia. It's Australia Day, apparently. Did not know that. But have a fantastic time. Enjoy your long weekend, Frank. And thank you very much indeed for being here. Always a pleasure to have you in our midst. Ken Hatcher says he is actually banned from the quiz, and then he went and entered. Go figure. Mark Whiting is here as well. Morning, Mark. There's Gary continuing his quiet romance with my other half. Andy Dalvell says, I want that digger model. Well, it's not a model. It's a USB thumb drive, but you didn't win it anyway, so there you are. Lots and lots of people. No Ken win today. Well, unfortunately, we got one anyway. There is the winning entry. There's not a winning entry, and there's a few more there as well. There's my wife's alternative take on the question of the day. Are you having haggis tonight? You damn tootin' I am. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. I may even skip lunch today to keep some capacity for an additional portion of haggis tonight. I'm a huge fan, I have to say. There is Chris Ford, our friend Chris Ford, saying, good morning, amigos. Dig deep and cast wide. I intend to. Yeah, I did touch on this earlier. We are getting very close. I think we're at, I can't actually remember what we're at, actually. Probably about 98,500 followers over on Instagram. I think that's more or less where we are. I'm just going to take a very quick check because I'm like that. Where are we? We are at Actually, we're nearly at 99,000. We're at 98,946. If you haven't subscribed to us over on YouTube, please do so, because I would like to get to the 100,000. Not out of vanity, it's more out of curiosity, because we should be owed a YouTube play button, like the one that Fred's got up there, that one there. I'd like to have two in the family, but as I said, we are currently demonetized because we do use other people's videos, which upsets YouTube enormously. I get a daily notification that I'm demonetized. So they may frown upon me and decide not to give me a play button at all, which would be deeply disappointing. But there you are. Now, our question of the day was quite simply this: who would you least like to be trapped in an elevator with? Thought about it long and hard. Piers Morgan would be one, Simon Cowell would be another, Phil Collins would be another, Robbie Williams, that would be torture, to be stuck in an elevator with Robbie Williams, because he would do nothing but talk about himself. But anybody else, we've got a few coming up. I'll get to that in just a second. I'm deeply envious of the Muirhead household tonight. Beef and haggis Wellington. I'm slobbering just at the thought. Ruth Anthony, my other half, says Annie Bloody Lennox or Katie Hopkins. I'm going to tell you a very quick story. My wife never used to have a problem with Annie Lennox. I would never describe her as a Eurythmics fan, but no problem with her whatsoever. And then there was, I think it was probably the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, and Annie Lennox appeared to be slightly the worse for wear. Maybe I'm imagining that, but she appeared to be the worse for wear, and she basically poured David Bowie. My wife is as big a Bowie fan as I am, and as far as she was concerned, this was a step too far. And here we are, I don't know, 30 odd years later, and my wife is still, literally, Annie Lennox comes on the TV or the radio, and she says, Annie Bloody Lennox, and then generally refers to her as a bitch. I still think she's a great singer, but I do agree with her on Katie Hopkins. We live in an age, maybe I should have tried this when I started this show. We live in an age in which you can become famous and probably quite rich by simply saying the opposite of what everybody else believes. So, you know, if you, I don't know if you saw it, there was Kate Garraway on Breakfast TV lost her husband a couple of weeks ago. Katie Hopkins went online and laughed about it. An absolutely hateful bitch. You know, let's make no bones about it. An absolutely hateful bitch. And yet, she's famous, she's probably rolling in money, and she still gets a platform. Piers Morgan, exactly the same. You know, there's lots of American newsreaders, exactly the same. Just turn up, say something deeply unpleasant, and then watch the dollars roll in. Not for me, thank you. I'm in agreement with Katie Hopkins from my wife. I'm even more in agreement with this one. Michael McIntyre. Did I say I detest the guy? You have mentioned it in the past, Gary, but I'm more than happy to repeat it. Oh, Michael McIntyre. And the worst thing is, he would probably be the type to try to entertain. You're trapped in an elevator, and he would go into the routine, wouldn't he? Same as Cliff Richard. Cliff Richard, oh my God. Do you remember some years ago, and it is quite some years ago now, where Wimbledon for an afternoon was rained off? So Cliff Richard took it upon himself to host a sing-along. I would have demanded my money back. The moment Cliff Richard got to his feet, I would have been down at the box office saying, I cannot bear that. Please give me my cash back. Yeah. Jim Turner says, Mr. Methane. My wife might suggest that's actually my nickname, but that's a whole other story. But yes, that would be unpleasant. Dan Cullen, I'm in agreement with that one as well. Donald Trump, can you imagine? Because not only is he, listen, my show, I can say what I like, not only is he one of the most obnoxious people the world has ever seen, he has the look of somebody that doesn't smell good. Do you know what I mean? Like there are some people. I'm just going to try and think of an example. George Clooney, right? George Clooney. Listen, I'm a heterosexual man with 4 children to prove it. So I'm not doing this from a man crush kind of way. But George Clooney, you imagine if you met George Clooney, you'd come away thinking, well, he's a good looking fella, and didn't he smell good? maybe just me, but Donald Trump, he looks like he smells quite bad. You not think? Or is that just me? Chris Ford, I'm going to flash this up and I'm going to take it back down just in case she's watching. Question of the day, who would you least like to be trapped in an elevator with? The wife. Moving on. Let's have a look. Lots of people enjoying the CDI job. Gary Muirhead with some additional suggestions on haggis. Haggis-inspired ideas. Haggis pakora, yes please. Haggis nachos, replacing the beef with haggis, yes please. And, excuse me, haggis bonbons. We were actually looking at a recipe for haggis bonbons just last night, funnily enough, because we're almost certainly going to have some leftovers because it is a huge... There's only 3 people in my household of 6 that will eat haggis. So, yes, we've got a haggis for days, I would imagine. Haggis bonbons. The other thing that I do really want to try, we've had... black pudding stirred into chili before now. Chili con carne with black pudding in. I reckon haggis into chili, I think that's going to be a banger. Looking forward to that. Let's have a look. Lots of entries still for the competition. Yes, now, going on to the Bobcat. Maybe too quiet. Do you remember? That used to be a trope of movies, isn't it? It's quiet, too quiet. And I do wonder that, now I do know that the Tesla car, you can actually add sound to it, you can add engine sound to it, so people can hear you coming. Not entirely sure if there is a possibility of doing that with the Bobcat machines and the other electric machines, or whether that needs to come. I do want, Dan Cullen backs that up. That's the problem with electric machines. Lack of noise and people not watching the surroundings. A major accident waiting to happen. So I wonder, I know we've spoken about this before, mainly I've spoken about this before, this notion of segregating men and machines, men and women and machines. Men or women in one place, machines at the other. Is the transition to electric the time to finally do that once and for all? And hydrogen machines as well, because they are obviously very quiet as well. Is that the time to do that, to actually put in some segregation? One of the things that I find myself talking about quite a bit, and I've done this face-to-face with people, but I've also done it here on the show, is we are obviously on the cusp of a major paradigm shift here in the demolition and construction industry. 100 plus years of diesel is going away at some point, and it's going to be replaced with something else. We have no choice because none of us want to live underwater. That's just the way it is, okay? Is that the opportunity? Given the fact that we are making such a huge and fundamental change to the industry in the adoption of electric and hydrogen, is that the time to say, actually, while we're about it, why don't we go back to first principles and completely legally segregate men and women and machines? Just have them working at opposite ends of the job. Never the twain shall meet. There is an opportunity. We need to seize it, is my opinion. Gary Muirhead says the Italians really know how to do demolition, and their pasta's not bad either. Do you want to pick up on that, actually? There was a time when the organisers first hosted their World Demolition Awards, which is a long while ago now, probably 20 plus years ago. For various reasons, the Brits swept the board. Partly because it's hosted by a publishing company that's based here in the UK, but also because, frankly, the UK was, at the time, the best at demolition. Yeah, ask anyone, ask American demolition contractors, ask Australian demolition contractors, those from New Zealand and across Europe. Everybody looked to the UK for demolition inspiration. Is that the case today? And I would argue that it isn't. There are several Italian companies that are every bit as good as those in the UK, and possibly a little bit better. There are Australian companies like Liberty Industrial, a match for every single UK demolition company. There are companies in New Zealand. What's the name of that bloody company? It'll come to me. Can't remember the name of the New Zealand demolition company. Nickow. I shouldn't be able to remember that because I've met them. Nickow and Wald from New Zealand, Despe from Italy, Cardim from France. A match for everybody in the UK. and that's happened in a couple of decades. I think they've caught us up, and in some instances, I do actually think they've overtaken us, which is good to see, because I think there was a period where they were trying to catch us up and they were working harder and improving and what have you. Maybe it's now our turn to take a step back and say, okay, we can learn from those folks. That VTN attachment on the High Ridge is a beast. Yeah, big fan of VTN. Looking forward to catching up with them in the not too distant future. I do need to check if they're at Internet, because they are always good value. Tune, says Jim Turner. Yeah, I sat there yesterday afternoon, stripped the music out of that VTN video, and thought this needs something banging, and that was what I came up with. Dan Cullen enjoyed that as well. Smashing tune for smashing a building down. There you are. Gary, I will get onto the fine folks at Cabelco Australia again, just to see what the latest is. I can only assume that things are running so smoothly they haven't bothered to try and re-promote it, but I'll have a word anyway. Name of the tune, as I want to listen to it now when on the machine. It's not as straightforward as that, I'm afraid, Dan. We actually draw our music from an online platform called Epidemic Sound, and it's licensed. We actually pay for a license, so I can't even send the tune to you. It's encrypted, basically. So I wish I could, but I can't. Other entries there is. I hope you enjoyed our new advert. You'll probably be bored with it by the time April rolls around, but there you are. Steve Williamson joined us a bit late, but always welcome. Great to see you here, Steve. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Mick Norton says most fatal and serious injuries involve excavators occurs when the excavator is moving or slewing. The emission of diesel noise with electric variant should not alter the foreseeability of risk. It will not alter the foreseeability of risk, but I mean, I've been in electric cars. I don't own one myself, but I've been in electric cars. I mean, in actual fact, even my wife's car. My wife's car is, I think they call it a semi-hybrid. So it's a diesel car, but it's also got a battery on it. So while you're driving, it's charging the battery, so you get a bit more bang for your diesel buck, and additional power and so on down the line. So, but it is, particularly for a diesel, her car is remarkably quiet. And the number of people that seem genuinely surprised, oh, bloody hell, look, there's a car on the road where I'm walking. And I would imagine that's going to be exactly the same. You're right about foreseeability of risk, but not everybody on a construction or demolition site is fully in tune with foreseeability of risk. Ask Dan Cullen. Dan Cullen gets it all the time. People walking up on his blind side. I know he gives them a mouthful, but a mouthful of abuse is a much better idea than a mouthful of excavator bucket. There was our question of the day from Steve Williamson. It was, who would you least like to be stuck in a lift with? He came back with the wife. Already? Didn't be married a year yet. Kerry Jones says Ken Hatcher, but he may be able to share his prizes with you, won't he? Let's have a look. Yeah, so Mick Norton says Miriam Margulies. Now, yes, she is a bit sweary and apparently a little bit windy. I quite like her. I like the way she calls a spade, but would I want to be trapped in a lift? Particularly, as Jim Turner says, she does fart a lot. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. But here's one that I am 100% in agreement with. Steve Williamson, question today. Who would you least like to be stuck in an elevator with? Lewis Hamilton. Just looking at him makes me boke. I don't know what boke is. Can't stand him. He is another one of those people that has got to a position in life and has decided that everybody needs to hear his opinion. He is to motor racing what Bono is to rock music. There was a time back in the day when U2 first burst onto the scene, late 1980s. Bono used to do a lot of behind-the-scenes sort of charity work, and he went off to various places and worked in refugee camps, all on the down low. Now, didn't make a big song and dance about it. Just went and did it with his wife, and truly admirable. And then he He caught a large dose of the fame, and now he is what my son would describe as a bumhole. You can't put Bono on the TV because you know sooner or later he's going to go all political or religious or geopolitical and religious. Lewis Hamilton, exactly the same. Exactly the same. Drive your car nice and quick. Just don't bore me with your worthiness. Lots of people suggesting it is a fix. It may well be. And Joel says, has Ken got any dodgy photos of you? Not as far as I know, but they do exist. Who the hell knows? I think your randomizer is on the take. I think you could be right. I think his name should be taken out so that someone else wins. I can't take his name out. I genuinely can't. It is completely random. I wish there was a button I could press to eject people, but I can't. Let's have a look. I think Ken is hiding in your system and hacks it. That might be the case. Ken must definitely be buy a Euro Millions ticket. Yeah, Ken, if you are still here, could you do that for me? That randomizer needs boycotting. Wow. Here's another one. I thought Lewis Hamilton was top of the tree, but here we go. Gemma Collins, can't stand the woman. I'd walk in the lift and all I'd hear is, all right, babe. Makes my skin crawl. Trust me, makes my skin crawl as well. Forgot Rich Clifford. Yeah, Cliff Richard. Can you imagine? Congratulations. No, I'm not even going to go there. Footy says, and he's running for president again in the USA. How much is going to take that country down if he wins? Do you know, that is one of the things that I find really hard to deal with. I really, really, really love America. I love America. I love America as a country. I love the place. I love the food, and I love the people. And yet, you just know that there's probably 51% of them are going to get that lunatic back in the White House. I have no real issue with Joe Biden, but I do wish that the Democrats had come up with an alternative, because I think the country is kind of bored with his bumbling old man act, and that they're going to go orange. Awful. Mick Norton says, when I first tried haggis, it tasted awful. Yeah. Good. I'm glad it tasted awful. Question of the day. Imagine when McIntyre starts talking, stuff my t-shirt in his mouth, tie his hands behind his back, he does my nutting. Yeah, and yet, what is it about those people that do seem to be able to maintain a career on television? You know, that we've already mentioned Piers Morgan and Katie Hopkins, who are obviously divisive, deliberately divisive. But you know, I genuinely, I don't know anyone. If somebody said, if you ask somebody, you know, who is a really good TV comedian, I think most people would probably say somebody like Peter Kay. Peter Kay is phenomenal. Ricky Gervais, phenomenal. Michael McIntyre is as bland and as boring and as unfunny as it's possible to be, and yet he gets TV series. Jim Turner, going back to my comment about segregating men and machines, you can't fully segregate men from machines, but they could keep other trades on the other side of the fence. We work in a gang, and I've usually got two lads at the end of the arm on a daily basis. Yeah, but again, I think that idea of other trades or other disciplines, I think that is key. I think if you're working in groundworks, for example, or if you're working in demolition, you intrinsically understand the risks. You know, you've been exposed to enough machines in the past to know, you know, don't come up on the blind side, don't walk behind the machine, and so on down. You have an understanding of what it's like. I think where you've got other trades, not so much. Footy has just said, 11 o'clock is coming fast. Yes, I know. I'm fairly sure I can hear my wife outside the door, ready to walk out the door. Question day, my wife will blame me for the lift breaking down and remind me of all the jobs that need doing that I haven't got round to. I could even put up with St. Cliff and Gemma Collins before that. Can you imagine the two of those together? Problem with segregation is sometimes you'll require a person working with you on the ground, but again, I think if it's a person that is supposed to be there, you know, a ground worker or a demolition worker, I think they would be more understanding. Steve Williamson, thank you for the clarification. Steve Williamson and possibly Gary Muirhead should maybe come with subtitles. Apparently Boke makes me sick, makes me Boke. Never heard that one before. But then I am a soft southerner, so maybe. Nick Norton doesn't want to be stuck in a lift with the till of the Hun. I think you're probably safe. Andy DeVell, Gemma Collins, that will be the reason it broke down. Yeah, she's a big girl, isn't she? And there's our friend Garrett from Wolfwoder 69. Good morning, he says. Due to a shift change, I usually miss watching the show now. It's our loss, my friend. It's our loss. But, you know, make it when you can. Watch us on Catch Up if you possibly can. And, you know, just stick around. We love to hear from you. It's always a pleasure. It is 1 hour now, and I do need to be elsewhere. I'm going to take my wife over to see my daughter, my eldest daughter. The other one's at work. So, yes, that will do me for today. I'm going to be back here tomorrow. Don't forget, we've got a new show for you tomorrow. It won't be until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not on it, which I'm sure will please everybody. But yes, we have a new show starting, and it is called The Wrap, and it stars none other than our resident AI news anchor, Ms. Demolition, bringing you the week's construction and demolition industry news. I think it looks quite good. The AI, I'm sure, is going to jar with some people, but I think it looks good. So I'd love to get your feedback on that. So please tune in tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. Before that, tune in tomorrow morning for the final show of the week. No giveaways tomorrow. No, we do have a giveaway tomorrow. I did actually check. We do have another notebook, Intimate notebook, and I'm fairly sure there's a pen to go with it. I don't know where that is, but I'll try and find that. So we'll do that again tomorrow. And maybe Ken will do the decent thing and not enter tomorrow. Maybe. We shall see. Everybody, go and have a fantastic day. It's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is. I'll see you on the morrow. All the best.